The Messerschmitt Me 262 was the world's first operational jet-powered fighter aircraft. When it entered combat in 1944, it was unlike anything the Allies had ever seen. Powered by two Junkers Jumo 004 turbojet engines, the Me 262 could reach speeds of around 870 kilometers per hour, nearly 150 kilometers per hour faster than most Allied piston-engine fighters. Development began before the war, but engine problems delayed its introduction. The Jumo 004 engines were revolutionary yet unreliable, often lasting only 25 flight hours. Despite these flaws, the Me 262's speed advantage was extraordinary. Allied bomber crews reported silver streaks slicing through formations before they could react. The aircraft was armed with four 30mm Mk-108 cannons, capable of destroying a B-17 bomber in just a few hits. Later variants carried R-4M air-to-air rockets, turning the Me 262 into a devastating bomber interceptor. However, politics interfered. Adolf Hitler insisted that the Me 262 be used as a fast bomber, the Blitzbomber, rather than purely as a fighter. This decision delayed its impact and limited its strategic effectiveness. Operationally, it suffered from fuel shortages, inexperienced pilots, and constant Allied airfield attacks. Although it shot down hundreds of Allied aircraft, it arrived too late and in too few numbers to change the war's outcome. Still, the Me 262 shaped post-war aviation. The U.S. and Soviet jet programs studied it closely. In many ways, it marked the beginning of the jet age. The Heinkel He 162, nicknamed the Volksjäger, or People's Fighter, was Germany's desperate attempt to create a cheap, easily produced jet interceptor in 1944. Built largely from wood due to aluminum shortages, the He 162 was powered by a single BMW 003 turbojet mounted above the fuselage. It was extremely fast, capable of speeds over 840 kilometers per hour, but also notoriously unstable. Designed for rapid production and to be flown by minimally trained pilots, even members of the Hitler Youth were intended to operate it. However, its complexity and speed made it difficult to handle. The He 162 saw limited combat in 1945 and achieved a few victories before Germany's surrender. While innovative, it reflected the collapsing industrial and military situation of late-war Germany. The Arado Ar 234 was the world's first operational jet-powered bomber and reconnaissance aircraft. Introduced in 1944, it was used primarily for high-speed reconnaissance missions over Allied territory. With twin Junkers Jumo 004 engines, it could outrun most Allied fighters. Its sleek, streamlined fuselage gave it excellent speed performance. The Ar 234 was also used as a bomber during the Battle of the Bulge. However, limited numbers and fuel shortages restricted its overall impact. Despite its limited production, it proved that jet bombers were viable and influenced future aircraft designs worldwide. When discussing German jet innovation in World War II, one aircraft stands completely apart, the Messerschmitt Me 163 Comet. While technically rocket-powered rather than turbojet-powered, it was part of Germany's revolutionary high-speed interceptor program and deserves its place among World War II jet-era aircraft. The Me 163 was unlike anything ever seen in combat aviation. Designed by Alexander Lippisch, it was built around pure speed and climb performance. Powered by the Walter HWK 109-509 rocket motor, the Comet could reach speeds exceeding 950 kilometers per hour, making it the fastest aircraft of the war. In fact, Allied pilots were stunned when they first encountered it, describing it as a blazing comet streaking through the sky. But this incredible speed came at a price. The aircraft had only about 7 to 8 minutes of powered flight. Once its rocket fuel was exhausted, it became a glider. That meant pilots had a single high-speed attack pass, maybe two, before having to disengage and glide back to base. Even more dangerous was its fuel system. The Me-163 used two volatile liquid propellants, T-Stoff and C-Stoff. These chemicals were highly reactive and could explode upon contact. Many comets were lost not in combat, but due to fuel leaks and landing accidents. A rough landing could rupture tanks and instantly kill the pilot. Operationally, the Comet was deployed primarily to defend against Allied bomber formations. It could climb to bomber altitude in minutes, attack with its 230mm Mk-108 cannons, and then glide back down. While it did score victories against B-17 and B-24 bombers, its short endurance and extreme danger limited its overall effectiveness. Only around 370 were built, and fewer saw operational combat. Despite its flaws, the Me-163 represented a radical leap in aerospace engineering. It showed what extreme propulsion systems could achieve, and it pushed the boundaries of speed years ahead of its time. The Comet remains one of the most dangerous and ambitious aircraft ever flown in wartime. The Horten Ho 229 was one of the most futuristic aircraft designs of World War II, so advanced that it looks like something from the late 20th century rather than 1944. Designed by brothers Walter and Reimar Horten, the Ho 229 was a jet-powered flying wing. Unlike traditional aircraft, it had no conventional fuselage or tail. Instead, the entire aircraft was one smooth, blended wing. Why was this revolutionary? First, aerodynamics. The flying wing design reduced drag significantly. Second, radar signature. Some historians argue that the Ho 229 may have had early stealth characteristics due to its shape and wooden construction. While not truly stealth by modern standards, it likely had a lower radar profile compared to conventional bombers. The Ho 229 was powered by two Junkers Jumo 004 jet engines, the same engines used in the Me-262. It was designed to meet Hermann Göring's 3x1000 requirement: carry 1,000 kilogram of bombs, travel 1,000 kilometer. At 1,000 kilometer per hour, only prototypes were completed before the war ended. The V-3 prototype was captured by American forces and shipped to the United States for evaluation. Although it never saw combat, the Ho 229 was decades ahead of its time. Its flying wing layout would later inspire aircraft like the American B-2 Spirit stealth bomber. In many ways, the Ho 229 represents what German aviation might have become if the war had lasted longer. Before the famous Me-262 ever flew into combat, another German jet fighter nearly claimed the title of the world's first operational jet, the Heinkel He 280. The He 280 actually flew under jet power in 1941, earlier than the Me-262. It was powered by twin Heinkel He S-8 turbojet engines and featured tricycle landing gear, which was advanced for its time. Perhaps most significantly, the He 280 was the first aircraft in history to use an operational ejection seat. During testing, a pilot successfully ejected in 1942, marking a major milestone in aviation safety. So why didn't it enter production? Engine reliability issues plagued the program. The He S-8 engines were underpowered and unreliable. Meanwhile, political favoritism and resource allocation shifted focus toward Messerschmitt's Me-262. Despite promising performance and maneuverability, the He 280 project was canceled in 1943. Had it entered service earlier, it could have given Germany a jet advantage years before Allied jets appeared. Instead, it became a technological stepping stone, overshadowed by later aircraft. The He 280 stands as one of aviation history's great what-if machines. The Messerschmitt Me 328 was one of the more unusual and ambitious jet-era projects developed by Germany during World War II. Originally conceived as a parasite fighter, an aircraft carried beneath a larger bomber like the Me 264, the Me 328 was intended to defend long-range German bombers deep inside Allied territory. The design was compact and lightweight, featuring a small fuselage and straight wings. Early concepts envisioned it as a low-cost fighter powered by pulse jet engines, similar to those used in the V-1 flying bomb. The idea was simple: create a cheap, expendable jet interceptor that could be produced in large numbers. However, pulse jet engines produced severe vibration. When mounted on the Me 328's airframe, these vibrations made accurate aiming nearly impossible and placed enormous structural stress on the aircraft. Test pilots reported that the aircraft was extremely difficult to control when engines were running. Several variants were proposed: fighter version, armed with 20mm cannons; ground attack version; even a manned flying bomb variant for suicide missions. Fortunately, the manned bomb version never became operational. Despite its innovative thinking, the Me 328 never entered full production. The project suffered from engine issues, shifting priorities, and Germany's worsening war situation. The Me 328 represents the desperation and experimentation of late-war Germany, bold ideas hampered by technical limitations. The Focke-Wulf Ta 183, nicknamed Huckabine, was one of Germany's most advanced late-war jet fighter designs. Although it never flew before the war ended, it heavily influenced post-war jet development worldwide. Designed by Kurt Tank, the Ta 183 featured a swept-wing configuration, something revolutionary at the time. Swept wings reduce drag at high speeds and are now standard on modern jet fighters. The Ta 183 was powered by a single Heinkel He S011 turbojet engine and was projected to reach speeds over 950 kilometers per hour. Its armament would have included 4 30mm Mk 108 cannons, making it a formidable interceptor against Allied bombers. The cockpit featured advanced visibility and a modern layout. The aircraft also included a T-tail design, further enhancing high-speed performance. Although only mock-ups and partial components were completed, the Ta 183's design did not disappear after Germany's defeat. Soviet engineers reportedly used captured Ta 183 research when developing the MiG-15. Similarly, Argentina later built the Focke-Wulf Ta based on similar design principles under Kurt Tank's leadership. The Ta 183 represents the direction jet aviation was heading: faster, swept-wing, high-altitude interceptors designed for jet versus jet combat. It never saw combat, but its DNA lives on in early Cold War jet fighters.